Hello, everyone. We're on with Ed Hansen running for Tooele City Mayor. And so Ed's going to tell us about what he has, the plans he has, and kind of the direction he wants to see happen. But, let's welcome Ed to the show and we'll let him take it away. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you got going on.
All right, great.
Come in just a little bit
a little
closer.
closer. Now, can you
Yeah.
hear me okay?
Pull it right up to the edge.
Right up to the. There we go. How about
Yeah,
that?
perfect.
I can hear myself now.
Yeah.
Glad to be here with Jared today for the Happy Hour podcast. I'm Ed Hansen. I've lived in Tooele my whole life. I've worked as an auto mechanic. Most people know me as an auto mechanic, and I've had Claire's Auto Center on Vine Street, and till the last couple of years when the county decided they needed the building instead of me. And and
So is that what happened to Claire's? Is
that's what happened to Claire's.
they just said we need the building? And
Yep. So the county bought the building, and at that point it was retire, or because I am a little older, retire or do something. Well, so during that time, and I'll tell you a little back, and we'll finish telling about me. But during that time, I decided, well, what should I do? I have my taxidermy business also, Tool Big Stuff Taxidermy. But and I've always thought about running for city council or do something for the city, and people were asking me to do that, and I figured, well, since I'm retiring from that, I'll do that. So that's why I signed up to run for city council, because Claire's was shutting. In the meantime, after I signed up for city council to run for city council, and then somebody came in and offered to want to buy the Claire's Auto part of the business, and me to go with it for a while. So I went with Royal Auto.
Yeah.
Down here by the TATC, and so we're merged together,
Okay.
and so I'm still doing mechanic work for now,
Uh-huh.
and of course that'll change if I win the election. Then I will retire from that and do the mayor full time. But yeah, and so that's kind of what I've been doing. I've got my wife's Barbara Outson from Tooele.
Mm-hmm.
We got 15 grandkids.
Mm.
Most of them live in Tooele. We have 3 down in Vail, Utah, down by St. George, and as far as hobbies, we love riding our motorcycle, hunting, fishing. Demolition derbies is a big part of our life. We do lots of
Yeah.
that. You probably know that.
Yep,
But,
yep.
This year, my grandsons have been able to start demolition derby. My 16-year-old grandson won the Tooele Derby.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
He did. He didn't he have a picture of his father up on the
He did on the roof.
like
yeah.
a memorial for his father?
He
too.
really did. He had his picture on the roof. He had a picture on the now I can't think of his name, but one of the barbers on Main Street. He's a spray painter too, and
Uh-huh.
he took Jed's picture and Gage's picture and painted one on each side. It was pretty cool. And so
Well, yeah, I
not
saw
only that,
was-
the car that he drove was the same exact car that his dad won one of the Tooele demolition derbies in, an old '66 Lincoln, Continental with the
Mhm.
suicide doors. So it was a pretty special thing. And then my youngest son took second in the derby too. So we've done lots of derbies over the last 40 years.
That's good.
So-
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Those are fun to watch, and I've got a couple buddies who race in them, and
Yeah.
they get addicted.
Yeah, there's a rush there that's unlike
Yeah.
no other. So yeah.
The building of it, and I think the
And
racing.
driving. Oh yeah, both
Yeah.
of them. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really it's a lot of fun, and it takes a lot of work.
Oh,
It takes
yeah.
a lot of your time. So you spend hundreds of hours building this
And
car.
it's not.
and it doesn't last very long.
It's not super cheap to.
No, especially nowadays. It used to be, 20 years ago, it was still expensive, but it wasn't like nowadays that they're spending thousands of dollars building cars.
Oh, just for a car to wreck.
Yeah,
And then you modify it.
Then you modify
Pull
it.
the
and-
gas tank.
And demolition
you know.
derbies developed into this technical thing where they're high performance engines and special rear ends, and there's all kinds of special equipment you can buy to make your car last longer. So if you're going to compete, you at least got to buy some of it, or
Yeah.
build it yourself or something.
Yeah.
So
Or be really, really good
yeah.
to where you can just kiss other cars
Yeah.
while they destroy each other, and
There
then.
you go. There is some strategy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No doubt
Oh, yeah.
about it. Yeah.
So yeah, let's so you ran Claire's, and then someone bought Claire's, and you went with Royal.
With Royal bought Claire's.
Okay.
The business part of it, the name of it, because
Uh-huh.
the county had the building, and so I went with Royal. Mark Miner owns Royal Auto, and so we went together, and plan was for him to absorb Claire's and me be there for a few years. And it's been a couple years now, so.
So do you still like auto mechanicking?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, I've done it a long time.
Yeah.
Since I was a little boy, I grew up in it with my dad, you know, and he had
Mhm.
Claire's Auto Center, so I like it. I do. There's lots I like about it. Sometimes it's the, you know, you've done it long. When you do something for 40-something years,
Yeah.
it's like,
Not to mention it's, as cars have modified, you know,
Yep.
start working on the new ones.
and I've worked on autos for 45 years as an adult. Plus, I did it as a kid with in the shop with my dad. So that's a long time to have one job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It
Yeah.
is.
But
Oh, yeah.
I'm still doing it, so I must like it.
Yeah. Like it or hate yourself. I
Or
don't.
something, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah.
old man always said he said, when I went to auto body school, they never taught us the first rule of auto body. You know, what's that, Dad? And he said, God hates body, man.
Yeah.
And that was his
Yep.
his saying. But, you know, I don't know. I grew up in a car family also.
Yeah, and I know your dad well, Craig. You know, he's
Mhm.
a great guy, and I'd work on his stuff sometimes, and he'd do my body work, and so we
Yeah.
worked together.
Yeah.
With this, you know, it's been a few years since I've seen him, but
Yeah, he's out at the depot now and had his fun time with that. But for the listeners, we better get into
where we're here for.
some politics.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, what made you decide to run for mayor? What's the
Running, you know, it's because I got in the city council, and it's, you know, I didn't ever think I would run for mayor of Tooele City. That really wasn't ever a forethought or in my plans or anything. But when I decided to run for city council, I was kind of feeling the same way. But when I got into the city and then into the city council and seeing how things work, I think like a small businessman, and you know, a lot of things just get talked about and don't happen, and I just feel like things could be done quicker, you know, and more for the citizen, and because it seems like in government there's a lot about the government and not as much about the citizen, you know, and what their needs are, and that openness with them. So I love Tooele City, and I want to help Tooele City during its growth, because it's growing, and try and help with that. And I don't think we can stop growth, and that's not an intention of mine, but just work with growth and make it so it works with all the other things that have to come around growth.
yeah?
You know, and that we need in Tooele City to have the growth. So.
So what are you thinking you're gonna really focus in on?
Well, right now we have a housing problem, you know, because there's such a high demand for housing, and in Tooele City, you know, we don't have affordable housing really. I mean, everything's like 350,000 and up.
Yeah.
So one of the things we need to do is work together as the city and the council and realtors.
Come right
and
on in on the mic.
Have a group, and we got to create something for affordable housing. You know, with this last year when I was chairman of the city council, that we did start a committee, and Scott Wardle was on the committee initially, and then when he went to the county council, Justin Brady took over from there, but they did change some zoning so we could have some smaller apartments and some smaller housing, and we just need to do more of that and work with, as developers come to us, create something that's affordable, because at the price of homes, I know I want my grandkids to be able to live in Tooele and be able to afford to live in a home, and so we have to work on that to make it so that's possible.
That's a subject that comes up on this show quite often, and here's a thought process I follow on it. The regulatory cost to build a home, and this isn't just Tooele or Grantsville, where I'm traditionally from. This is all of Utah and most of the United States. The regulatory cost, the cost before you touch your shovel to the earth, is pretty steep.
It is.
So on average, about 10 grand in Utah.
Yeah, 10 to 20,000. I mean, just
How
for
do you
fees.
fold, and that's something the government's got to realize, that this crisis is caused by them.
Yeah.
Because how do you fold, like, let's say you want to build $100,000 houses. How do you fold a 5% loss the minute you sign that loan into a
Right.
loan?
Right.
How does a bank sign that loan? And that's why the only houses built anymore is 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom,
Right.
you know, 2,000 square feet.
Right.
And we're not building, and traditionally the way someone builds equity to buy a home like that when they have a family to fill that is they start out with a 1 or 2 bedroom house.
Right.
And then they sell that for the next bigger house. They build equity in that and then sell it, take that equity and roll that into a bigger house and keep rolling it. And I think by starting that regulatory cost so high where a person can't achieve that, well, then you've cut that growth out of the market. And it's causing some pretty severe societal issues right now, too.
And I agree with that. And them impact fees we charge and water fees and all the fees, you know, it's a lot of money. And I think there's you know, we're going to have to find another way to help with that, you know, because governments, including Tooele City, is talking about raising impact fees, which would just make it harder yet. There's got to be another way to fund that. You know, water's one of the things that is the impact fee for that home that's 15. I think in Tooele it's $15,000 right now. You know, that builder is building into that house because of water, and so
That's crazy. 15,000.
15,000.
That's for just the impact fee, not the building it in.
That's to have the water to build that house. It might be 10,000, so don't misquote me
Okay,
there. It's either
10
10 or 15,000, but
let's
the top
say
was
it's
raising it.
5,000.
It's 10 for sure. Okay.
That's
So
insane.
10,000 just for the water. Now, we just did a water study in Tooele City, and we have water, but we have to have money to get more water. But we got to find a different way than just charging the houses to get the water, because you're right. That extra 10 plus $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever extra for the building permit, and the impact fee this or the impact fee for that. You know, it's a lot of money.
We're shutting the youth out of the market of growth.
We are, and we got to change that somehow. You know, with water, we got to work with not only our local Tooele City, but we got to work with the other government entities in our county, and we're going to have to create some kind of water district. You know, if you create a water district, there's state and federal funds to be able to help come to that and create something to get water here.
Yeah.
You know, Salt Lake and area, they have Jordan Valley Water District, Bear River Water District, but then we're built up and they're feeding water to different cities. And we got to do something like that, because we live in a desert and we're a dry desert.
Yeah.
And so we got to figure out a way to get water here and use money that we don't have to impact them start out guys in their houses.
Yeah, you know, we can work like that. You know, our beloved president right now is he wants to tax the rich, so maybe we can figure out a way that we can ease impact fees on small houses. But you've got to have it written in. These aren't going to be houses that a guy goes and buys 20 of them for rental property.
Right.
It's got to be the owner lives there.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a legit purchase.
And that's one of the you know, that's a thought. You know, I've never thought about that, but the first time a home buyer that's never had a home before.
Have a waiver
You
for
know,
an
so
impact
we
fee
could
on
have something, you know, there to help
something
that
small,
out.
and then we've got to bring in more commercial and corporations, and we can have them, because they want customers, we can have them add in and help absorb that initial home.
And that's
buyer.
another thing, is we have to grow our commercial. You know, we have to have jobs. We got, you know, not just retail. We've got to get places out here for people to work that are good paying. It cures a couple things. First of all, it gives us tax base.
Yeah, keep the
To get more
taxes on this
here,
side
which
of the
will
mountain.
help with that kind of thing. And then it keeps the road between here and Salt Lake maybe a few less cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How would that be?
Yeah.
For people to not have to drive home through that once in a
you
while.
know. So them things that's got to happen. I mean, and we got to work hard at it. We got to go after the growth. We got to go after the businesses. And there's places to go to find businesses. I mean, we have you know, Mayor Wind hired an economic developer to help with that, which is great. You know, and we have the Peterson Industrial Depot that's got things going. But over the years, they've gone to places, different conventions, should I call them, to try and get businesses to come to Tooele. There's been some success there. I asked one of the former city council if that ever worked for him, and he says, well, we wouldn't have Walgreens or Big Five
Mhm.
If we didn't go to them, that's two of them that he could think of that came because of them, the city going and reaching out at different places to try and find businesses to come.
Yeah, you got to let the businesses know you exist. And
Yeah.
Tooele's in a tough spot. We're at that 20,000 mark, 20 to 30,000 population mark where
I think we're like 38 or something.
yeah,
We're up there. a
but
ways,
we're in there in that mark where we're sweet enough but not,
not sweet
quite
enough,
sweet
yeah.
enough. So
But
a lot of
we
businesses
need another 20,000 people in our county
yeah.
to get them. But them are more retail things.
Yeah,
You know,
but
to get people to come to get jobs, in the
mhm.
at the Peters Industrial or here by the college or someplace that's professional jobs or blue collar jobs.
Yeah.
My world.
Oh, we definitely need that.
We need another $4,000 or $5,000 $4,000 not dollars jobs
Yeah.
brought to our city for that brings that pay well.
What about harnessing this the inland port for the county? Is
That's exactly right. And I think Tooele had the opportunity, but because of water, it never came to the city council to talk about the inland port, about the Romneys doing that. I know there was some talk about coming to Tooele. They ended up going to Grantsville,
mhm.
but I know they needed water. I know that would have been the money they're going to have down there, and the tax that would have came from that to our city is huge.
Mhm.
And we probably should have done something to try and get them here.
Yeah.
But since we didn't, I mean, they're going to Grantsville. They'll get their tax money,
Mhm.
and the school and the county and whatever. But that's huge. So we need things like that.
Yeah. We don't have near the canyon line that Grantsville has
It's
to
true.
operate with. Grantsville really gets to just the Stansbury Mountains.
Right.
They
They have more water,
yeah, more water. It's a longer mountain range.
and that's why we need to work with Grantsville, the county, and get that water. Tooele has water they bought over the years.
Mhm.
Like 20 or more years ago, they bought that Vernon sod farm
Mhm.
with the water rights. Well, they still own the water rights.
Yeah.
And there's also Mercer water that Tooele City owns, and also out by Hogan's. And then there's even a little like that by Grantsville that Tooele City owns. So we could all work together as a county to help try and move that water, because it costs a lot of money to bring it here, but that water would be a big giant boost to help our local growth and economy.
It would be nice to, well, I don't know. I would like to see a study into the impact if we made a water district for the county or the the whole valley
Right.
down to the shoal by Stockton. See what could
See
at
what
least have an
could happen. Yeah.
impact in what we could do.
Yeah, because we got to do something to get the water,
Mhm.
and they talk about we got lots of straws in the water, in the ground here, sucking
Yeah.
up all the water so they're concerned about if we can even drill more wells here.
Yeah.
But sorry about my phone.
No, you're fine. You're fine. people need you.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's one of the things we got to work on.
Mm.
Another thing is our fire department's an amazing fire department. We're blessed to have that volunteer fire department that saves us millions of dollars every year. But with our growth of our city, they need more equipment.
Yeah.
They need another building that's towards the north end of town to make them closer to the fire department.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah, it's almost it's a tough spot. Also, again, we're a single-story city,
Yeah.
so it's almost like the fire department needs to be situated in two locations and have almost mirrored equipment in two locations.
And it's really true. And so we have a lot of equipment. We have some that could go to both, and they have their one on 7th Street, their little satellite one on
Mhm.
7th Street, and they got the one by City Hall.
Yep.
But the city has property on 1,000 North, and there was talk this year about trying to get a fire station going, but we just need to get that happening. We got our firefighters are great people, and
Mhm.
they are dedicated to protecting us and doing that job, and they love it. And it's like a family thing to them, because it's generations of families.
It is. Yeah.
That are the same people, same generations. There's some new ones that come in, but a lot of it is related somehow.
Yeah.
And so like my son-in-law's on the fire department, and his grandpa was on the fire department, and that's kind of what you see. But them men love to do that job and protect us, and they care about this city. So we need to do what we can, because if we had to go to a full-time fire department, which may happen someday, that would cost us millions of dollars every year.
Mhm.
So I think if we can equip this and keep them going as a fire department and make it so that they're can be successful and happy with what they're doing, and as more people are needed, through that, I think it can still happen, and so that's one of my goals, is to get the fire department equipped and making it so our citizens are safe with that, and have access closer to the northern part of town.
Good. And the northern part of town is only going to keep growing.
Keep growing. Well, it's going to be, when I was a kid, my dad said, there's going to be houses from the mountains here all the way to I-80,
Yeah.
and
Grantsville and Tooele are going to touch.
We're going to touch in Stansbury and Erd, and it's close already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening.
It's
in
going
my
to
lifetime,
happen.
So yeah, it's got to happen. That protection's got to be there.
Yeah.
So,
All right. What else you got?
the building department. I think our building department, they're good people and everything, but we just need to do better on our PR to different building department, and make it so that we work with citizens that want to build their houses, and
Mhm.
developers want to build their houses, so we can make it a work together project, and not it's just got to be something that's a positive. There's a lot of negative talk about that. I hear it around town, and as people tell me, man, it's been trouble there. So I just want to help that, so the PR is better there, and so we can work with everybody to make that more successful, more positive.
Could there
work with-
just be a lapse like in communication, so people aren't prepared for what they need when they go to meet with them?
And I really think there's a lot of that there. And so
Uh-huh.
it's education, and then just coming across as helpful, and trying to get them so they're rather than saying, no, you can't do this, maybe we can say, well, not exactly like you have it, but we could do it this way, and this way, and these are the things that's required by the city, and just try and work with people
Get a
to
more supportive
more supportive,
system.
and try and help people do what they want to do.
Good.
It's their property, and we have our laws, and we have to control how things are built.
Mhm.
But we also should be able to work with people to try and be able to do what they want on their property too. I mean, it's kind
Yeah.
of a fine line there, but I want to do what I want to do with my property.
Yeah.
And I understand there's rules, and so I want to live within them rules. But we also there's always, if you talk it over a lot of times, it's like, oh yeah, we could do this if we did this, and so them kind of things.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, we talked about water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Water's going to come up.
Yeah. And part of the
nonstop.
water thing is we do have 2 wells we drilled as a city before I was a city councilman.
Uh-huh.
They were drilling them. And so it's been almost probably 3 years since they started drilling them. And I know they've been ready to go since early in this year, if not last year.
Uh-huh.
But we don't have them in the system yet, so I want to, that's got to be a priority. To
So
get them in the
they're
system.
they're not being pulled from yet?
No.
Why did we drill them then?
Well, we drilled them, but that's the thing I talked about as a private business guy. I want something done today.
Yeah.
And so I know that the wheels are a little slower in the government, but
We already drilled them.
Yeah, we
though.
already drilled them. Let's get them hooked up, and let's get them in the system.
Yeah. What's it?
Because we did have water problems this year.
Uh-huh.
If them 2 wells were in the system, that would have helped.
Yeah. You see how long my grass is? That's
Yeah.
just so that my water,
Yeah.
stays on.
Yeah.
It stays off.
Yep. Yep. The other thing is parks. England Acres. How long you live in Tooele? Since you left Grantsville?
Yeah, I've lived up here, I think I'm going on 10 years, 11
Yeah.
years.
So England Acres was probably started before that.
Oh,
Down
really?
on 1000 North, that big park, and it's
Mhm.
a giant park, and it's awesome. But we need to get things like that finished.
Yeah.
That parks is a big deal. People want entertainment. They want a place to go. They want,
Mhm.
we need ball fields for our kids to play on,
Mhm.
and so that park's been kind of got a little first section done, and it's not been happening. Now this year as a city council, we just earmarked another $1.6 million, I think, to work on that park. And but we just need to get them going, and I would have thought it had been done years ago,
Well, and that's another question I had with parks and kind of public property, with our water issues. And I asked this to everyone from Tooele that comes in, everyone from Grantsville. Why don't we start planning on doing some more water salvaging public areas?
Yeah.
So I would honestly say the parks, the schools, um, the public owned medians, the park strips, we those we can start out and just start converting to a
Zero
pretty
scape.
rock
Yeah.
scape.
Yeah, especially curbs,
Yeah.
medians, things like that people aren't on. Parks are a little bit different. I mean,
Well, yeah,
there's places you could do it.
you want some grass, but then, like, if you've got a park that you plan on, I don't know, if like say the park over there by the swimming pool,
Yeah.
where they have the
The
arts
city
festival.
park. Yeah.
That one that festival could be held on a pea gravel.
It could.
One, it would save. I'm sure that every time they have it, it's hard on the grass,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we've got to go in and remediate that every time we have a festival there. Whereas if we had pea gravel, you could have a guy with a four-wheeler go through and just level it out with
Yeah.
with a leveler, and that could just you know it could be an easier thing. And then you can have grass off to the side where kids roll and
Right.
tumble and do their stuff. But we could do a half and half, and
Yeah,
we could
and-
mix it in and do a study on how can we.
How much of it could be that? Because they want to have trails, so that the trails could all be that zero scape.
Trails definitely need to
Yeah.
be zero scaped, or we need to figure something out.
And
with that.
between sections of different fields and all that,
Mhm.
it wouldn't have to all be grass like we do it. So
And-
it might be a different mindset of how we do that, to think, okay, what can we do? We need our soccer fields,
Yeah.
and we need our baseball fields and our football fields. But,
Yep.
but we have this other area around it that we always just put grass in. So maybe there could be
Like
something there.
over here, we got the bowl, the water,
Right.
the water
You
flood
got the
bowl.
skate park and the
But they-
flood bowl. They play.
They play games
play
in it, so we
front.
definitely want grass in the bottom of that.
Right.
But could the parents possibly have like a pea gravel? You can make the pea gravel a quarter-inch grit, and all round, not a sharp stuff. I mean, it might roll down. I don't know, but can we just I think it's probably not a good idea. You don't want pea gravel sitting above grass to roll down, but
Yeah.
anywhere we can
Well, that's
salvage.
one thing about the gravel is it does transfer
Yeah,
into different
yeah,
areas. So you're,
there's-
you're working on that all the time.
especially if it's sloped, it'll
Slope,
be
yeah.
gravity.
But there
will
is,
pull
you're
down.
right. I mean, there's, just, well, everybody's curb in town is grass, mine included.
Yeah, well, mine's coming out.
Yeah, and so if it zero scape that,
Yeah.
and if the whole town did that,
Yeah,
that's-
mine's
that's
coming out.
millions and millions of gallons of water.
Yeah, and the stuff on the north side of my house.
Yeah.
It's I'm peeling it out. I'm gonna cut it out. I'm putting, rock in there or something. I don't know what. But that's coming out, and the side of my house is coming out. I've made the decision that I want to be a part of that solution.
Sure.
Yeah,
But it's not a bad thing, Ultimately, I like having grass,
Yeah,
but we still need to work on that because water is an issue.
but I can have grass in a dedicated spot for kids to run around in.
Yep.
And, I don't want kids playing on my park
On-
strip anyway,
Yeah,
because that's where cars drive.
right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So that's the plan.
And so that's a change in the way we feel as, because we grew up, this is what we did. And
Mhm.
we got to change our way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal, The other thing in the parks is, lots of people have dogs just like you, and they want to
Mhm.
go walk their dog in a park and something. So, like the basin where you guys, your water catch basin here.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about that as a city, but that would be a great thing to do for dog parks.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of grass, have the zero scape
Yeah.
around it. You take your dogs there and let them run if we fenced it or something.
Well,
And
yeah.
we could catch them, and then you guys clean up after. They'd clean up after themselves.
Have you seen Grantsville's little
I have.
patch?
Yeah.
Something like that. It's
Yep.
not very big. Now, you wouldn't want to pack more than probably 3 dogs in at a time. I don't
Right.
know if this is considered a dog.
Yeah. It's,
But,
yeah.
3 dogs
it might
at
be
a
just
time.
bigger than a rat, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Bigger than a rat, I mean equal to.
Equal. There you go.
But, it's a nice area, and then you hang a doggy bag thing
Yeah.
on the outside, and once a week trip for the you can hang doggy bag in a garbage and talk to the contract the garbage men to grab the garbage and put a
Yeah.
new roll, just a new roll of doggy bags.
There'd be a
on
way
there.
to do it. And, we have, every development that's happening now, they're making them put in a drain to catch their water.
Mhm, yes.
So, and there are so many people more I think that when I was young, have dogs now.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's not true, but it appears to me. So I think, a lot of them could be converted into something like that. It takes more work. If I'm going to take another employee for the city, it might cost a little bit more money to keep up with them. But
Mm-hmm.
and then if we landscape them correctly, so so that we're not so it's not all grass. So it's something we definitely got to work on, though.
I agree. I agree. Now there are a couple of questions coming in, but let's finish off your list, and then if you don't mind, we'll answer the questions
Okay.
that come in from
Okay,
the.
the other thing, I'm a small businessman, so I think about the private world being involved. I
Mhm.
think we can include the corporations and them to bring money to things we want.
Yeah.
We want, let's say, a stage at the city park or something. And we could have private money come help build that and put their name on the
Have them
thing.
sponsor and
Have them
advertise.
sponsor it, yeah.
Yeah.
Same with finishing parks, as we need money.
Yeah.
We could get people to help do that, and we'd call it whatever that
Yeah,
field could be their name. I think I'm trying to think. Could we? I don't want to just raise taxes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Do
but
you
if-
want to? I mean, you could, if you were bold enough, you could hang your house or your sign on the side of the outhouse over there at the park. You
Hey,
could have a
I like it,
banner
yeah.
swinging it. We could put in a
Sponsored
series
by-
of flags.
Sponsored by Ed Hansen, this party.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, this crapper
Yeah.
is sponsored by.
Yeah.
But no, we could put in like little flagpoles, kind of
All kinds of things.
honor the community members who have sponsored this
Right,
area.
yeah.
Yeah, we could do a lot with
And
that.
private citizens could do it. Businesses could do it. I mean, it's a way.
Oh, yeah.
It's a way to create more money to, because we all want more things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots more we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so to work on all of that without having to raise taxes to do it, because we've had a big tax raise recently.
Yeah.
Just the town needed one. I mean, it had been years and years and years.
Yeah. It.
It was just a shock to us all.
There's-
the big raise.
Yeah. The tax raise was a shock. It still wasn't as bad as a lot of places in
Sure.
Utah,
Yeah.
but it was a shock. I think the biggest shock was the letter we got in the mail. Your taxes are going up. They're going up 100%. You're just like,
14% or something.
you're
yeah.
like, what does that look like in the end? And next thing you know, everybody's digging through their old tax files
Yeah.
and doing the math, and you're like, that was a substantial jump for 1 year.
It is.
And I understand it was needed, and
Yeah, and so that was and Mayor Wind, they put themselves out there and did it.
yeah,
And it's helped the finances of the city. But,
it has.
we got, and as a government entity, we got to be really frugal with the citizens' money, because it's the citizens' money.
That is very true.
And so we just got to be careful with the money. We got to be thrifty with it and make sure it's going as far as it can.
It's very true. Yes. Yes.
That is kind of, I introduced myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of what I'm talking about. I'm willing to talk about anything else, but
Well,
whatever you
we've
got
got
on
to,
your mind.
let's kill a few more time, but we do have some questions coming in.
Okay.
How about no more building of new houses? There are other towns in Utah that have out a halt to new building because of the drought. So are you asking, Kendra, do you want to see a stop on building of new housing because of the drought? I would like to. I mean, one way to deal with that is you just meet up with the developers and say, okay, here's the deal. With your building of new houses, you need to have, you don't have to lay grass, but you have to have some of it set up for xeriscaping and have that in the plans for the owners. Something like that. And it really wouldn't be that expensive for a developer to lay down gravel, in areas like here at this house or a lot of houses. That north side next to my driveway, I plan on putting gravel in, and I want to consume up all the way back to the fence and some of the backyard. That's an area I don't use a lot. Most of its use comes in, I park my four-wheeler back there, and I that's where some of the tools and equipment go. And so that's a place I'm going to put gravel in there, something easy to manage. I mean, if I could, I would put concrete fence to fence and paint it green. But that's
I think I've heard you say
expensive and
that
hard.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's so. I mean, we can't just stop growth completely.
Yeah.
That's pretty tough to do.
Well, that
But
puts us.
we can work on the water and work on that now, and so that's and adding them kind of things to developers and to citizens and trying to encourage that, you know, as far as making it so it's required. That's we still got a little ways to go there.
That's
to
a
get
fine
that.
line you have
Yeah,
to walk to
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
It's tough to do. Where do you require that? Because again, we were talking about how do we make houses more affordable?
Right.
Can we zone, you know, 1,000 square foot housing and make the yard smaller?
Yeah.
Can that be added into the zoning? Can we add areas in? I still want to push that home ownership because I think
Oh.
that is the initial step to wealth in life.
Yep. And I agree. And you talked about moving up in houses, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we did. You know, we buy it. My first house was on 6th Street in Tooele.
Yeah.
Right by East School,
Uh-huh.
which is Sterling now, but right by East School. And so it was 2 bedrooms. It was like 900 square feet.
Yeah.
The lot was a little bit bigger, but that was, you know.
And I
it
think
was
that's
a small-
Tooele had a lot
back then.
lot size. It still does now.
Yeah.
A minimum lot
I
size.
think it's 7,000 square feet now.
Nowadays, people want to, developers want to fill the lot with a house
Right.
because that's where they get their revenue from.
Right. Yeah. And we're building these big homes, and I mean, my house that I live in now, when it was built, it was 1,260 square feet, and that was a pretty good sized
Mm-hmm.
house back in the 80s. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's house is bigger than that now.
Yeah, you're a garage now.
Yeah.
The houses, the new house, and I'm not knocking them. I still want to
They're still
see
building
those.
some smaller houses, but
Yeah, but nothing under. I'll bet you won't see a new house, and this might be something to look up. A new house for under 1,800 square feet.
Yeah.
I'll bet you won't see that anywhere in the county.
I got to tell you something they do different nowadays. Because when I was building my houses for myself, we counted the main level as the square feet.
Mhm.
Now they tend to count all the levels.
Yeah, well, and now they build houses to where
Yeah.
there's not a.
And so there is a difference there, because I live on 600 North and 200 West, and just north of me is Shetland Meadows,
Mhm.
and so them are not big homes in that
Mhm.
section, you know. And so, but you got like 15 to 1,800 square feet, but it's all their levels,
Yeah.
you know. And so,
Well, and
so
maybe
they're,
that's.
then they're the more affordable home, but they're still, holy cow,
Yeah, 300,000 is
350.
that's-
Probably 350 most.
that's
of
your
them.
base.
Yeah, and so, you know, as developers are wanting to bring townhomes in, and they say we're going to keep the price below 250,000 or something
For a townhome.
for a townhome, but rent, I mean, rent's like
And
one bedroom
yeah.
apartment's $1,000. You know.
Yeah, things have gone, and that's just
It's gone out
because
of hand.
we have a supply and demand issue in the
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
You know, if there were multiple apartments for rent, we wouldn't have that. And Kendra also says it's not just the grass; it's more people coming in and using the water for just household use. And yeah, that's true. But anywhere where there's a city, it's going to continue to grow. If you stop its growth, usually the only thing that stops its growth is the external environment shuts off around it, like those cities that were built up around the old roadways
Sure.
and train and railways.
Right.
And then once the freeways were built, those city died.
Yeah.
And well, it causes a lot of hardship for the people that live there. So we can't really stop the growth.
Yeah,
I think we've got to plan for it.
we do.
And we've got to
And-
plan for.
You know, and as far as the water goes and what's happening, you know, Tooele had a lawsuit that they lost a few years ago,
Yeah.
and part of the agreement for the lawsuit is they gave that part of the lawsuit to pay for it is the water to them to use in the Overlake area. So there's the part of that lawsuit is Tooele City had to supply 4,500 acre feet of water to them for the Overlake area.
What
itself.
caused that lawsuit? What was the?
The lawsuit was a disagreement with Drew Hall and Tooele City over what he could build and how he could build it and not build it, and it just festered into this big giant thing over the years rather than getting it settled. You know, it was a 20-year deal. So when they finally made an agreement. I mean, a lot of the city's water, acre feet of water is earmarked for overlake. And so, but we do have that water.
Yeah.
We have that water, and as the water plan, master plan was just made, we have the water for that. We have some other water. We're not out of water, you know, and our tanks are sufficient for what we have. We just got to continue growing with that. So
That's a tough loss, though.
it's a tough loss. I mean, if that wouldn't have happened, I mean, it would I would think it would be being developed differently. know.
That is a little, yeah.
And they've
Yeah.
used about, I don't know, 1,400 acre feet so far of it.
Yeah.
You know, but we've committed as a city as part of that settlement agreement is to give that water. And
For
it
how
kinda- it
long?
kinda-
Like a
well,
permanent?
till it's gone, until the agreement, till they've used it all up, and at some point they had to start paying some, but it's at a lower number. So
Yeah.
and so
It's
it's
still a big win for him.
It's still a big win for them.
I mean,
and-
of course.
and it is what it is. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what happened and agreed to. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
there, and so we just deal with it.
You don't want to be a dishonest actor, especially if you're government. But
Yeah.
that's still a heavy loss. I don't.
It's a
I would
heavy
like
loss.
to dig into that one day. That'd be an interesting one to dig into.
Yeah, and so there's people out there that know a lot more about it than I do.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot more about it this last 2 years, being on the city council. But I had no idea
And-
that's how it got settled. And they got the water plus we're paying X amount per year. So that's just a tough one. And it is. You hear about cities getting sued all the time and things happening. That's one of
Mhm.
them unfortunate things a giant loss for Tooele City. $20 million.
It's a heavy one.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. So.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
There was one other thing
Yeah.
I failed to talk about, and I'm looking at my notes, and I'm skipping that part. So the old part of downtown, where I grew up as a kid, it's kind of
Main Street
Main
between.
Street, old Main Street between, south of 600, let's say. 600
Yeah.
north. Everything south of there, especially up to the further south part of town, Vine Street,
Yeah.
that area.
Pretty much you're talking from what is it? First South. Man, I mean, you're going all the way up to about 600. We're not getting. It's built for a different era.
Yeah, and so I think we need to just restore that era.
Yeah.
Try
Try
we, and vitalize that downtown area. We put medians in the middle that maybe are
Mhm.
a problem. We've eliminated frontage parking,
Yeah,
and that's tough on them businesses.
It is tough, but it might be cool if there's a couple ways you could go about it. I mean, it is tough parking, but maybe if you decorated the backside of the buildings also and made it a walking district.
We need we need to create parking there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But we also need to make it so it's desirable to be there.
What's
And
old
it's a
Allen
walking-
Lids doing with their old parking lot?
Yeah, over there, and the Mr. Belmonte that has the used car lot on First South,
Mhm.
he's doing something over there.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. I drove by there the other day and saw someone was inside, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
I don't know if he's in the building or if he's just in that little west
So-
building, but they're there over there. Doing
Someone was
something
in the
with
main old
Oh,
Allen
yeah.
Lid building.
Yeah, and so there's something going on there.
Well, and that's
there's-
good. I like to see.
Yeah, but and from Main to 200 North, the real old buildings that are
Mhm.
they're still there. We need to, and there's businesses there.
Yeah.
All kinds of them, and to keep them vitalized and get back to making it so that as a city we're working with them to try and keep them successful so they're not closing down.
Yeah, what could we do to make it so that people are willing to? And I like the idea of people willing to park and walk and do some
We're all lazy,
shopping or
including me.
yeah.
If I have to park a half a mile away and walk, don't want to
But
do it.
you'll go into Salt Lake probably and walk around
Yeah.
shopping districts where
Yeah.
you'll go shopping in 5 or 6 stores and walk a quarter mile for
Yeah, and
it.
so if we had a place to park, and then they could walk
Mhm.
walk that block, and go from store to store and spend their Saturday shopping in Tooele. We need Tooele shopping too, because that's part of our money
Yeah.
bill.
Yeah,
If they're spending their money in Tooele, we have the places in Tooele to spend their money, then sales tax.
it'd
which
be
is Which
nice.
is huge.
It'd be nice to draw in some eccentric shopping down that way. I mean, we've got the Another Man's Treasure
Yeah,
and,
which is
and,
awesome, yeah.
and things like that. That's good. That's that type of shopping you want to
Yeah.
see. We need to draw in more and make it so that we can advertise it as this district does that.
And you've seen other towns that have their old district that they
Yeah.
and they're awesome, you know, and we need to create something like that and vitalize that downtown district.
We do.
We're growing north. I
Yep.
mean, it is what it is, and probably the entrance to town in 20 years will be Cimarron Way, you know.
Oh, Erda's going to scream in 20 years because
They're creating their own.
what are
town.
they going to do? They're not going to be able to avoid becoming a part of Tooele.
Yeah, yeah. So
You
it's-
know,
it kinda
or
gives-
Stansbury. I mean, take
Yeah.
your pick.
It's all one. It's going to be all one big thing, like
It
Salt
is.
Lake is, you know, and they'll separate by a street, but it's still,
Yeah.
you know, that's our growth will go north, but that old part of town needs to be taken care of, and where I want to go walk around with my wife as she wastes money shopping for for antiques or
Yeah.
trinkets or
I
whatever,
think so.
you know.
I do. I think so. And a lot of those buildings have second floors that need some upkeep, and they could become apartments or they could become upstairs shopping.
Yeah, and then maybe as a city, we need to create a RDA again for the downtown to help them, you know, to help with not only with giving them keys with zoning and things to make it happen, but to help them financially, even to help them restore their buildings, to get them started, you know, and then
I like
things that
it.
could be paid back, you know. But
Yeah.
there's got to be something we can work with business. You know,
I think
I was on Vine Street forever,
uh-huh.
you know, and the city never worked with me.
Yeah.
And that's what I complained about all the time. I'd only hear something if they didn't like what I was doing.
The city always seemed happy to have people in the far north of town.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And so that was one of my complaints and why I ended up wanting to run for city council, is because I felt like, you know, that there was never positive from the city to me. And I get in the city now, and things are a little bit different than I anticipated
Yeah,
they'd
you
be,
s-
you know.
You
see
saw how the
yeah,
I
but
saw
still,
how the
but still we
bread
could-
was buttered.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we could still do better than we're doing.
we can, and every city can. And I can honestly say, I have nothing bad to say about any of the
No,
municipalities in all the county.
yeah,
They all,
they're good people. They're
yeah,
good
none of
people.
them want
They're friends
anything
of mine.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have nothing bad to say about the people. It's just maybe I think a little bit different.
And
you know?
maybe they just haven't heard of the new idea, or maybe they
Yeah.
haven't, you know. And everything costs money, so it's kind of hard to. I think here's honestly what I think the issue is. I think more people, more citizens need to go to those council meetings and hear what's going on, what's on the docket, and we need more free minds, not just where you go buy some corporate hack, more free minds coming up with thoughts and you know, meeting up and talking at the, you know, wherever about it, you know, and getting ideas going, and then the people can come to city council and say, hey, I've got a thought, you know,
Yeah.
chew on this for a couple weeks and
Yeah,
I'll see you at
and-
the next meeting.
And that's really what we need, because I don't know everything. You don't know everything.
Yeah, we need more-
Nobody does. We need people to help us with that input, to help us.
We need
and
more
that-
people
and
involved.
They say something that's like, holy cow, that's the best idea. Why couldn't I have thought of that? You know,
So,
let's try and
yeah.
implement that, you know, because that open communication needs
Mhm.
to be there.
So there it is. We're pointing the finger back at us is what we got to do.
Sure, yeah. Me,
You know.
and honestly, as
Well, it's
a citizen the last 60-something years in
Yeah.
Tooele, Utah, I didn't get involved.
well, and that's everyone. I think we all need to get involved and get active
Yeah.
active in the community. How can we, you know, and that's the thing. I'm sure any of the city councilmen, if you have a thought or an idea, will gladly hear you out.
For sure, yeah, and our city council, our mayor, everybody's great,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, as far as listening and getting them ideas, and so that's what people need to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And our life, when we're racing by in our lives are fast paced, so we're racing by in our lives, so it's hard to take the time
think-
for that. But as we do it, we, you know, if we can set aside some time for things like that too. I love to serve. I
Mhm.
work in serving in lots of different organizations I like to help with, and that's kind of my thing, and so that's kind of why I'm here too. So
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that other organ. Well, okay. Let's answer a few more questions, and then we'll talk about the other organization you're a part of.
okay,
All right. Utah's a joke. For the price of homes, I can buy 3-bed acre on an acre in Missouri for 179. You can't even get a place for that in Utah. And yeah, you're right.
she's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Missouri. Right now, you've got pretty much anything that comes near the Appalachians, the Ozarks, are extremely affordable places. One of the downsides with that is those are some hard economic areas until you get into the major cities, and where Tooele has pretty good economics available to its populace, even if you have to go around the side of the mountain. I work out at the salt plant at my day job, so those are pretty, pretty good economic areas.
Yeah. And I got family that lives back there, and their homes are, they get a lot of property and
Yeah.
and a nice house for a couple $100,000, $250,000.
Yep.
And they've sold their house here. Like, well, I got family that went to Kentucky with, the EG&G thing. And they live in them LA's areas, and they sold their homes and go back there and get something
Oh yeah.
huge compared to what was here. So
Yeah, and that is the
and
thing.
it is about the economics, so.
But a lot of it's economics and water. Water is a big pressure, but
Sure.
water naturally has to slow down the construction we would freely have if water wasn't an
Oh, yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
It just has to naturally, because it
That's-
has to be
and that's
planned
kind of
in.
happened right now. It is slowing the construction right now.
Yeah.
Because we have a lack of water, acre feet of water available for developers and for citizens. And
Yeah, I agree with you completely. We all agree with you on this, Kendra. I hope that we can find a solution. It's a tough one.
it is a tough one,
And maybe bigger lots and smaller houses might be
Yeah.
an idea, at least in some areas, to fill that up. I do know that Kendra has a horse, and horse property would probably be nice for people who have horses, but maybe they don't need a house that's more than 3 bedroom.
Yeah.
And then they can, in their own time, add on
Can add on.
or build out buildings to handle their tack and
Right,
their,
yeah.
their tools.
Yeah, but it's really true. And, the old part of Tooele, too, that's another thought of mine. The old part of Tooele from, about the alleys.
Yeah,
The alleys.
Up Newtown and
Well, no, from like 600 north to 200 south, maybe 300 or 400.
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
400
yeah.
south. The alleys that are backs of lots, because
yep,
we've stopped allowing them to have animals there.
really.
Yeah, unless you kept your animal for years and years and years, you lose your rights to have animals there. And I think that's just kind of a waste in my eyes.
Why-
People ought to be able to have their animals there.
Why have they stopped people from having animals there?
I don't know if we want to be a big city or what, but they've made it so that they're not zoned for animals there. There's only a couple places left in town that are actually zoned for animals.
Uh-huh.
I'm lucky enough that there's been animals on my property where I'm at, because I have animals. I have
Uh-huh.
horses and cows and stuff. But I'm not zoned for animals anymore. If I was to take them off of there for over a year, then I'd lose my rights to have animals.
So is there a certain? I understand chickens in Tooele. You can have
You
what,
can have six
six
chickens, yeah.
chickens?
You can have bees.
Yeah,
You can have 3 dogs.
and 3 dogs, but like say goats.
Yeah.
What's the? I don't know.
I don't know
That'd
the
be
exact rules, but I think goats have to be in a place that's zoned for animals.
yeah, and so that's where you start.
And we don't have any place left hardly. You'd have to go out of town. Now, you have Coleman West.
Come in real close.
Coleman West, from
Uh-huh.
on the Grantsville Road,
Uh-huh.
up to Second South about, over to the tracks,
Mm-hmm.
and down to like McKellar. That section there is still zoned for animals.
But is that still zoned because someone lived there that owned a big?
Well, yeah, I don't know about that.
and
Why it's still zoned, but that section, that there is bigger lots there. There's
yeah,
people that have property
they've
there.
lived there forever. Too.
Yeah, for generations.
Yeah.
And so even like up on Second South, they've been building houses along there, but they're still zoned for animals there in that section.
Mm.
But that's what we have for zoned for animals. The rest of them, where there's animals around town, are not zoned. They've just still maintained that for years and years and years.
So maybe that's something. Yeah, something to look into.
It's something to look at. I don't know if we can make it happen, but I think it would be
Eventually,
a great idea for them old houses.
yeah.
'Cause they're small houses my parents lived on 179 South, 100
Uh-huh.
West. Their house went from first west, from second west.
Oh,
first- from
those
first west to-
long,
yeah.
those
And so
long
they-
yards.
They
Yeah,
had like 2/3 of an acre though.
they're great.
Yeah, and so but they couldn't have animals because he had them not on there for over a year. So you got all this place so then there's another place where you could have corrals.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have as much grass, because for a while my dad planted the whole thing in grass because he couldn't have animals.
It'd be
And
nice
then
to
then
see
he
if
tore it back down to not so much grass because of the water problem.
it'd be nice to see if you could have an adjustment where maybe 3 neighbors down to 3 neighbors down, you all got together and you said, okay,
Yeah.
they could have a say in how, because that's what
And
honestly the animal thing is
Right.
because your neighbors may not want
may
to,
or may not like it. Yeah.
you know.
And so that'd be a tough discussion too. I think because of that, what you just said, because some people won't like it, but I also think that a lot of people would like it. My animals, people are by it every day, feeding them carrots or petting them or
Yeah.
whatever. And people like animals.
It'd be nice if people, I don't know, if maybe, maybe a block, they all said, hey, we would like to, adjust our zoning to allow animals so that,
Yeah, and
a couple of the guys want animals and the other couple of guys like animals.
yeah,
So they all,
and it could be a discussion to be had because a lot of them back alley or backyards. If you go up and down them alleys, they're just weeds.
oh,
Or they're the old corrals.
Yeah.
They used to be there when they had animals. Things like that. So I think that could be all spruced up because of it. Because by doing something like that, just thought I've had about the old part of town too. So
yeah, that's a lot to think about. That really, that is. All right, Kendra's got a few more comments in
okay,
here.
let's get her.
And Kendra is always very active on here. She has a lot of big thoughts about Tooele, and we thank her for it. And
Yeah,
I think I need to just go pick her up the next time there's a city council meeting, drag her along.
yeah.
Let
Yeah.
her come in and I as much as
They
she
only give you like a 3-minute spot to talk, but at least you could come.
sometimes just listening for the first few times is ideal.
Yeah.
Find out what the tempo is and what the movement is,
Sure.
and chew on it. Gather with a group, you all chew on it. And then if all of you took 3 minutes, well, you could chew a guy's ear off if there's 10 of you with 3 minutes each.
That's right. Yep.
Here's an article about halting the building of new homes because of the drought here in Utah. Summit County
Summit County.
towns.
I knew they did that.
So Summit County has halted new homes
Yeah.
due to water.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, they did that, and that's it's real extreme, but they did do that this year, I believe.
How bad is Summit County for the need for new homes? Because it's already a
And I don't really know, because it's a lot of the Camas and isn't that
Mhm.
Summit County, that area, I believe.
Did the whole county shut down new homes?
I believe at least a good
Wow.
part of it did. I don't know if all of it did. I remember hearing it on the news.
They've got more substantial rural land use.
Kendra
than we
probably
do.
knows about it more than both of us.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to get with her. And then we've got to clean up Broadway as well, make it nice again. I agree there
I
too.
agree completely. Yep.
Yeah.
And they were, we had a developer that was going to tear down the hotel, and build.
Yeah.
And well, actually, initially they were going to remodel that hotel.
I read the story on that hotel. It's a real interesting story.
It is, yeah.
It was only open for a few short years
Yeah.
before it had a fire, and then it was.
And they got fixed, and then back and forth a few
Yeah.
times. It was open and shut, but they were going to remodel that, and then the fire happened in it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it had to be torn down. So now it's a big pile of rubble sitting up there.
Mm.
The owner of the property died this last few months.
Mm-hmm.
And so now nobody's taken ownership to
Well,
clean
and
that up.
I'll bet the prices on that are crazy to buy that corner lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll bet his family is asking something that no one's willing to pay.
And it's hard to know what's going on because I don't really know. I know that the city has tried to get them involved in getting something to happen, but they say they have no money to do it. So, because we need to get it cleaned up. So something's got to happen with that Newtown area. That was a thriving community back in the mining days.
Yes, it was.
When the depot first opened
Yeah.
and all that. My father-in-law and his family all lived there. And
Yeah. My grandfather lived in Newtown quite a bit. Well, first they lived on the corner of Utah and Maine,
Uh-huh.
where the Wells Fargo is.
Yeah.
It was my grandfather's house when he was a kid, and then they moved down the street a few houses, and then they moved up into Newtown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he went to Korea, and then came back to Grantsville.
Right. Yeah.
And
so it is a thriving thing, and it's not now.
Yeah, and we do need to bring, like the fish food plant that
Yeah.
we've got up there. Ideas like that. There's still some outside of town. Got Carfort and places like that. Can we bring some industry in out there that needs employees?
Yeah.
We got-
there's that, and I gotta tell you, the Peterson Industrial Depot, they've been knocking it dead this last
Oh,
couple
they
of
have.
years.
Yeah.
They've brought a lot of things in. The city's been working with them too on that, but it's really them
Mhm.
taking the lead and making that happen. And so there's a lot of jobs happening out there right now.
That's the ideal way to do it too. A private organization takes a hold of some
Takes the
property
lead.
and says, city, sit back and let us just
Yeah.
bring some possibilities to you.
Yeah.
And that's the
And
way
it's
to
true.
do it.
And they this last couple of years, holy cow, they're moving.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
it's great for our city.
It is. It is. Yeah, they've got a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone 1 hour.
Okay, is
So
that
you
how-
want to?
Is that how long we're supposed to go?
We go as long as we need
Yeah,
to,
okay,
but we
all right.
stick to about an hour usually.
Okay.
What do you want to close with?
I just, as running for mayor, as a possible being your new mayor. I just know, I want you to know that I care about Tooele City. I will listen to the citizens. I'm going to work hard for the citizens. This is where I grew up, and I want Tooele City to be successful, beautiful, a wonderful place to live. And as other members of our community, if you have questions or concern, I'm always open to talk to you and listen. And I promise I will listen and be open to you in anything. And even if I don't win, I'm still there, city council and stuff. And
Mhm.
always the same thing. I'm always there to do it. And so I'd love to have your support. I'd like to try and implement a lot of things we talked about and other things, and as the city grows, and try and make Tooele City citizens and the Tooele City government work as a team together to make our town successful. So.
I like it. All right, everybody. Ed Hansen. Let's try to make it. I won't be able to meet up at the next. When's the next city council meeting?
The first Wednesday of October, so that's a week from Wednesday, which is 6th maybe, I think.
I don't
The
know.
6th, and it's always the first and third Wednesday though.
Okay, I'll be able to make it to the third Wednesday.
So
I
the-
work
yeah,
afternoons on the
It's
first
7
Wednesday.
o'clock p.m. There's a work meeting that comes at 5:30. They usually don't give people an opportunity to speak at the work meeting,
Mhm.
but there is the speaking time at the city council. But tell you what, there's a lot
That's
of things that
fine.
go on at both meetings if you have the time. I had never gone to a work meeting in my life. I'd only gone to a city council meeting.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot going on there too. So if you got the time to come at 5:30 and hang out for the evening, there's a lot to learn.
Well, hopefully I see some of you guys there. I plan on just I want to go and listen in, see where the direction is. I have thoughts, but I don't know exactly what's going on, so
Sure.
I'd like to hear it out for maybe 3 weeks.
Sure.
Or 3 meetings, and then okay, I've got an
Have
idea
some
now.
input, yeah. You can
And then
give us
have some input
ideas.
and meet people there who are concerned about the direction of Tooele and have ideas as well. Maybe we can powwow off the side, come up with an idea, and hopefully help our community out.
Yep, and there's nothing wrong with grabbing the mayor or the city council or anything and talk to them, in person, call them
Yeah.
on the phone. I'm willing to give my number out. Our numbers are on the website or
Yeah.
something anyway. You can always call us and talk to us about your concerns and about what your vision is, and have a good discussion, because all of our city council are willing to do that.
Yeah, we need to get involved.
Yep, for sure.
You need to be involved in your community. Someone says, "What about cleaning up Tooele? There are so many trashy, unkept yards." Yeah,
That's true. And we have a zoning, we have a ordinance officer that goes around and try
Yep.
and deal with that, but there's a lot to go on there.
and there's also that trailer. They can
Yeah.
come and get that trailer.
That's right. You can get the trailer, the dump trailer.
Get involved with some neighbors.
Yep, and clean up.
You and your neighbors rent the trailer to all deal with your
You've
yards.
got to give a shout out to Gene Buell. I don't know, if Gene or
Uh-huh.
not, but he lived on the north. He moved now, but he lived on the northeast corner of town.
Uh-huh.
And every Thursday night, I don't know if it's every Thursday night, but a couple of Thursdays a month, there's a whole group of them cleaning up them back sides of houses that, had to have back, the back side of the house is facing streets, and nobody's cleaning up the sidewalk and the weeds and stuff. They spent all last summer doing that.
Yeah.
And so we could do that as a community. If all of us stepped up and did just a little bit of that around our community, it'd be a lot nicer.
Yeah, yeah. Get with your neighbors. Get a group of guys together.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to take an implementation on yourself to say, I'm going to be the first answer to a problem, and then if I can't deal with it, then I'm going to go trying to take it from someone else.
Sure, yeah. Try and solve it.
Yeah. I think that's a good way, but
Get
yeah,
involved. I can honestly say I didn't get involved back with that kind of thing.
yeah.
But it's important to do it.
I think when you get grandkids, maybe it changes your perspective.
It
or-
definitely does. Yeah.
you know.
It definitely does.
But yeah, I don't know who that Facebook user was because it's not showing up a name on here. But yeah, we definitely agree. And yeah, let's step up. Let's start getting involved. If you see a place, let's make a plan to solve it, especially if it's a hazard. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's Ed Hansen, and yeah, he's running for mayor, and the vote is November what?
November 2nd is the last
November
day.
2nd.
You're gonna get mailing ballots here, middle of October. So
Okay.
watch for them to come.
All right. So you got Ed, and maybe before then, uh, you know, I don't know. I know one of the city councilmen came on, and he mentioned wanting to see a debate. I don't know how you'd feel about a debate.
I'm not sure I'd want to debate because it seems like it's more of a argument, but we can all answer the same questions.
Maybe that's the way we pose it. We pose it as just maybe have people come up with some questions that ponder them about what a city could do or should
Right,
do.
yeah. Here's a question. So they did some. Eric Breck a
Mm-hmm.
couple years ago hosted a couple of different
Mhm.
events, and so they had one. It was you went and got in a room you couldn't hear, and they brought the city council in one at a time, and the audience was in there. But then they'd ask each one of us the same question.
Yeah, maybe we need to get with.
So we couldn't hear each other.
We need to get with Eric on that.
Yeah, but
We've
I
had
know- I
Eric
know
on
he's
the show.
and I know he's planning something
Yeah.
to do with that. So, and there's some other. The New Life Christian Church
Uh-huh.
has everybody coming up for to their church for Meet the Candidates Night.
Good.
Tooele City is doing it October 14th, maybe at City Hall. No, not at
Good.
City Hall, at the police station in their public room there.
Okay.
So that there'll be one of them. There's, if you remember the chamber's doing one. The realtors are doing one. So there's a few happening.
Good. So
Yeah.
you're a busy guy.
Pretty busy. Yeah.
You got a month where
Yeah, it's gonna be
probably
a busy month. Yeah.
just sliding into the house and falling down, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Late
good.
nights, early mornings. You know.
Yeah.
Trying to still work your job. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those deer ain't gonna stuff themselves.
No, that's right. Yeah.
All right, Ed. Well, thank
Okay.
you for coming on. Everyone, we will see you on next Friday. Remember, tomorrow at 9 o'clock at Stansbury Park at the, what is it called? The Stansbury Park? Why is my mind? At why am I forgetting the clubhouse?
The clubhouse at the golf
At the
course.
clubhouse at Stansbury Park. They've got the Tai Chi and general Tooele County Health and Wellness class. Show up there at 9 o'clock. They've got some events for the kids. They've got events for the adults. But yeah, show up down there, stop in, visit those ladies that put it on the group. It's a free event. Just show
I know
up.
that John Gossett from Life's Worth Living Foundation
Yep.
is speaking at that. So
And now Life's Worth Living. That's sorry, we're not shutting down yet. That's a group you're vice president of it,
yeah, and
correct?
I'm vice president. I've been involved with that. It started from when my son died
Mhm.
of suicide in 2014.
Okay.
And I tell that story a lot, but I could share a part of it here if you wanted me to.
Let's go ahead and take a minute.
I can
Let's
share. You know what?
come real close to the mic.
Yeah, I'll get back up here. And I don't want this to affect anything politically. I don't want this particular part.
So
of
this isn't a part of him running.
This is not a part
This
of me
is
running. This is my life, and that's
Yeah,
what
this
gives
is a
it-
community.
This should not affect your vote in any way, and I don't want it to. So I'll clarify that because that's not what this is about. Life's Worth Living started when my son died in 2014. He died of suicide. He was 27 years old, a wife and 3 children, and there was a lot of conflict during them years, and it was because of his drug use. He started using drugs in his early 20s, and it escalated to a point that he couldn't afford to be on drugs anymore, without either selling or stealing or stuff, and it all started with prescription drugs and escalated to other drugs that were cheaper. And so, there was lots of things as we dealt with him in the few years before he died, and the effect on my family and me and my wife and our relationships. But as them things happened, as a dad, as I was trying to help him, and as people told me I was enabling because I was helping with money and trying to be part of his life and trying to help him stop, and we helped him go through different programs to help quit, and helping with money, and he was stealing from me, and stealing my guns out of my safe and pawning them at the pawn shop, and doing things like that. My son would never have done that in his right mind, but being on drugs affected him. His wife was a saint to stay with him through all of that and keep trying to work through it. It's kind of hard to talk about, but towards the end, when he took his life, the last month or so, I was getting a lot of pressure from my family and those around me that I was doing the wrong thing in helping him, because I was making it so he had money to do this, and I really was. And I look back at that, and I know it was, but it's really hard to look back at and know if I did the right thing by doing that, because it made it harder for them to live, and the pressure was on. And he'd get his paycheck and he'd be spending it on drugs. He was a functioning drug addict. He went to work every day still, did his job, but all the money he had and all the things and the extra work he did, he'd work to get more, but it just grew into this giant monster. And so our relationship got less and less positive as it got closer. And I remember the day he died, the phone call just before he took his life was not very good with me. And that's been really hard to deal with. You kind of blame yourself, even though I know it's not my fault.
Yeah.
But it's still hard not to take some blame for that, but that's why I died. Now, looking back at it and knowing, with my faith in God, and knowing that he's in a safe place now, and he's not dealing with that here, and it's not affecting all those around him like it was. I'm not sad that I'm not sad that he's gone either.
Yeah.
I'm sad that he's gone because I miss him, but I'm glad he's safe, and his family's safe, and all that craziness that was going on there for a few years is not there. I would go spend evenings with him, and he'd have a gun and want to shoot himself, and one of them he'd steal out of my safe, and I'd go spend. He didn't really want to. He just wanted me to come and talk to him, and we'd spend all night together, trying to get through it. But when all that happened, then he died, and my daughter Becca, which is my oldest daughter, and she was really close to him too. And John Gossett, who's the president, he's a really close friend of mine. I met him the first week he came to town. His car broke down, so that's how I knew him. But
so you met him by divine providence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we've been like best friends forever. And they saw that we needed to do something. And Tooele didn't have anything at the time to help us, to try and help with suicide prevention, because it's a big, giant thing. And Tooele was like fourth in the state of counties for suicide.
We finally got some addiction assistance in Tooele.
We did.
Some serious. We've got a couple of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely.
Addiction is a giant thing for suicide. It really is.
Yeah.
There's more other things. There's mental health and depression and all them things too. But addiction is giant. I have a friend that's part of our coalition that the first year he was with us, he had 6 friends of his because he was a former drug addict. 6 friends of his that were on drugs that died by suicide that year because of their drug addiction and what the pressure was at and things happening around them. So John Gossett and my daughter talked about what we needed to do and to make it happen and do something. And so really John was the spearhead of that, to get us signed up with the government so we could do something and create a foundation. And Tooele has gone from 4th in the state in suicide rate to 21st in the state for counties in suicide rate in the last 7 years.
That's fantastic.
It is fantastic. So talking about suicide, sharing my story, the people who have suicides in their life and it's affecting them inside, they need to talk about it. They really need to talk about Life's Worth Living hosts on the fourth Thursday of every month. We have a support group meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's for people that are contemplating suicide or those who are affected by suicide in their life by somebody. And so I'm the support group coordinator for that on the 4th Thursday of every month at 7. It's at the hospital right by the cafeteria And so we
Okay.
have that. We do all kinds of events to bring attention, and we talk about it. And we have a walk to Wendover that John
Mhm.
started a few years
Yeah,
ago.
I've had friends that's gone on that.
That is a healing event
Well, I'm sure.
because you have 2 full days of walking that you have time to think.
Well, I'm
time-
sure.
And then people there are other people that have been affected, and it's never would have thought that in my life, looking behind it, looking forward to it. But now looking at it happening in the several years we've done it, that is one of our best events and one of our healing events, because you commit that 2 days of, 2 12-hour days of
Mm-hmm.
walking, put 30 miles on your legs, or something, and people put 5 miles to 30 miles or 40 miles even. some
Whatever
days.
you can do.
Whatever you can do, but it gets you centered, and so we do things like that, and we have events where we've got different things to raise money to. We need money to help people, and so
Oh, of course, yeah.
we give scholarships to high school kids. We help with funeral costs. We help with if you need doctors, to help pay for doctors or therapists or things. We help get money for that. That's what the money's raised for. There's nobody in the foundation that gets paid. It's all volunteer. And John's the president. I'm the vice president. We have a good board and a good coalition group, and people support us. So it's a great thing.
That's
So-
really, and anytime you guys want to advertise anytime, give us a call. We'll have you on that day.
Yeah, me and John could come, and he might turn around and say, come to his podcast, because he does a podcast weekly too. And
Good.
I don't know if you've seen any of his, but they're.
I have not.
Yeah,
I haven't
you'll
even
have to
heard
listen
about
to a
it.
couple of them. So
Yeah.
I never thought I'd do a podcast, but me and my wife were on that and talked about our son's
Good. Now
story.
what-
So
Suicide is a big thing. It's
it is.
it's really
And
a
it's
big
prevalent
thing.
all over the U.S.
And the drug use is a big thing, especially in the last 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Opiate use has exploded because of drugs that came to market at the same time, veterans coming back with their wounds
Yeah.
at the
And-
same
and
time.
so it was easier access for it.
Yeah.
The prescription drugs, you could go to the doctor and they'd give you 90 pills or something.
And that became the
And
standard
that,
thing.
and that was okay because nobody even, I'm sure they weren't even thinking about was
They
going to get
didn't-
addicted to it.
They
you know.
didn't recognize
And now,
what they
now
were
it's all
getting.
different now because doctors will give you enough pills for a week,
Yeah, and they administer them to where, if you want to get high, you're just going to burn through your whole supply
Yeah,
before
that day,
tomorrow
yeah,
night.
Yeah.
So you're going to be hurting. So this is to take the edge off the pain.
Yeah,
We're not
right.
curing your pain. If you need pain cured, that's why
And that's
you're
all changing. So that's helped too. That's a good thing.
That has, and a lot of people that sustained injuries, it's saved a lot of lives, a lot of families,
Yeah.
a lot of heartache.
And one thing is, I didn't think I'd ever be affected by suicide. Now that that's happened to me, I realize how many people out there have been affected by suicide.
Especially now that you're reaching out to help them.
Yeah, almost everybody. If I talk to somebody, they've somewhere in their family or friends, they've been affected by it.
Oh yeah,
You know.
yeah. I've got a few friends that I've
Yeah.
lost to
Yeah.
suicide.
And that's what I mean. That's it. And I can remember as a teenager, a girl in my ward, died by. Well, then they didn't call it suicide because she was huffing on glue or something, back then to get high, but she died then, and so I thought about that the other day, if that, if she tried to die or if that was just trying to get high, but that's
Yeah.
the effects in our lives, if things like that happen. And
How quiet were people back then about stuff?
They didn't-
Families wouldn't
yeah.
talk.
Well, even when Life's Worth Living started in 2014, people didn't like to say the word suicide.
Yeah.
They just didn't. And
Yeah, I bet.
and even now there's people that say, oh, if we talk about it, somebody might consider it. The total opposite of that is true.
Yeah, and not just that, but you mean it's not happening, so let's keep it quiet?
Yeah,
No,
let's not talk
it's
about it, yeah.
happening, so
Yeah.
let's
so-
try going the other way with it.
And that is the answer, is talking about it, being totally open with it. It helps. I can promise that.
It does.
helps me.
It's the
helps
same
all those
thing with
around me.
drug use. That
It
is
is.
another one of the answers for drug use.
Yes, talk.
Is the
Be open.
and the people that are addicted need to be willing to come to the table and say, look, I am addicted.
Yeah.
I can't hold myself accountable. Sometimes can I count on you to hold
to
me
help me,
accountable
yeah.
those days?
And we all need to be there for them,
We do.
We're racing. I said earlier, we're racing by in our life. We are.
Mhm.
There's 100 things I got to do every day, but we need to take the time for each other.
I think you're right.
We do.
I think we need to slow down.
And we need to take the time for each other. And if somebody's hurting, whatever we think is more important than that is not.
Yeah.
We need to take the time for each other.
Well, they've given this era that we just barely stepped into last year, the Great Resignation is what they're calling it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing for people to step back from the rat race and say, wait a second, I need to focus on life.
I need to focus on my family and my friends and those people around me. And
Yeah.
even if it's somebody I don't know, we need to help them too.
And I hope that we start pouring back into our communities. I don't know if we ever did. This is just a thought I have in my mind. I imagine that in the old days, you know, the 20s, everyone went to the community meeting, and they might have because there was nothing else. It's not like you had, you know, the TV to go
Yeah.
to. But I would like to see us pour back into that, even if you pouring into that meeting is done through a medium such as the internet. Still pouring into that, getting to know what's going on, getting to know your neighbors, and I think we need to build communities again.
We do. You know, do you ever talk to your neighbors across the street? Do you even know who they are?
Now I do.
Yeah, I mean, but think
the
about it,
average
you know?
person probably doesn't.
You don't. You know, you talk to your neighbors next door to you. It takes you 2 years to get to know them. You know.
Yeah.
So that all needs to change.
I'm one of the lucky ones that I've met all
All
of
your
my
neighbors,
all
yeah.
of my neighbors, and I'm fairly close with a few of them.
Yeah.
So-
That's what we need to be. We need to be there for each other and it doesn't have to be family. It's for as a society.
Yeah.
We need to be here for each other and help each other. That community trailer, that just gives us a way to do it.
That's a good thing. When Mayor Wynn came in and told us about that, I hadn't heard about it. I thought that was real impressive.
It's way cool. And the city didn't have to pay for it. They got a grant.
Yeah.
It's still government tax
It's
money,
still- and
but it still, wasn't out of the coffers that, cause we're trying to make all the ends meet with the money
well,
we have.
and
so.
it's not like we're not getting raped by the state and the feds anyway with
Right.
our taxes, so
Yeah.
we may as well get something back.
There you
know?
go. Yep.
And that's how I look at it. I mean, I'm not a fan of I wish we didn't have to send any taxes further than Salt Lake,
Right.
just because they have done an excellent job of spending it on all their boondoggles. But, we already do, so we may as well get back every red
Everything
cent we can.
Yeah, I agree. That's the grants come from the government and sometimes from private things too, and they do come from private things. So,
Yeah.
the It's Life's Worth Living. We did that first statue at the Veterans Park.
So that was you guys.
Yeah, and that was
Okay.
the guy with the soldier, not the one with the dog, but the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And we raised the money. We got together and raised the money for that with Dan Snar was the sculptor.
Mm-hmm.
And we was able to raise the money for that and get that in the park, and Mayor Wynn was part of that. She let us do that, and she has helped us. She is able to help us get the concrete through her family's connections,
Mm-hmm.
and get all that made. So, but we had a group of people got together, community leaders that, not more private than government, that were involved in raising the money, and we raised $88,000 in 6 months.
Mm.
And we only needed like $60,000 or $62,000 for our statue to get it, to pay for everything, to get it done. And so we was able to donate the rest of that to the second statue,
Mm.
and so they could get that done too. And so that we paid the money we had raised, it paid for at least a third of what that cost to do, or maybe even closer to half. But so that was a great thing because that was so cool to do that. And veterans in the United States, 22 a day die by suicide.
Yeah.
It's probably higher than that now. That's what it was years ago. And so we're
yeah.
trying to create awareness to veterans too.
Me and Dave are both veterans.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tough thing.
It is a tough.
And it hits on
and
all
you know better
levels.
than I because I am not. So
It hits on all levels because there again, injuries and painkillers.
yeah.
At that time, you can imagine as a veteran, you're probably carrying around a pack a lot of times, heavy stuff, a lot of walking, knees go out, they start giving
Something to get you
opiates,
through the day. Yeah.
and then it becomes a thing. And then there's also the horrific side of
War.
of the guys who paid.
Yeah.
So it gets rough.
Yeah,
It
that
does.
it is, and I get it. I
Mhm.
recognize that. And so Well, and our foundation was trying to do a support group for just veterans, but wasn't getting anybody to come. So, as I was talking
Yeah.
to some other veterans, we're not veterans. Me and John, we're not, and so we don't recognize the need there. And so they figured, some of the other ones says, well, maybe we need to have somebody that's a veteran run a support group in Tooele. And so that I think we'll be working on that.
Yeah, that's good. Have we had a lot of veteran impact going on here in Tooele?
We got lots of veterans involved in things.
Yeah, they get involved.
They
I
do.
don't. There's been some studies on the veteran side of that, and maybe that's where we need to look into it on what causes the. But anyways, I think
It's
I
a
would
whole
like
other
to.
thing we could talk about.
Yeah, I'd like to have a discussion with you. But anyways, thank you again for coming on.
You bet. Yeah. Yeah, we would probably talk all night, but we probably ought to cut it off. Huh?
Yeah. All right, everyone. Ed Hansen. Thank him for his personal story. That's impressive that he was so open on telling it, and it's a heart wrenching story. And maybe I don't know what you've done with it. I think is the most impressive thing.
Well, thank you.
You've taken it and turned the nightmare into you're helping your fellow man through it, and that's impressive.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.